Hello, hello, hello. Checking in with The Birthday Boys by Beryl Brainbridge. Gonna try and just zip through. I haven't really even just finished the section, which is Dr. Edward Uncl Bill Wlsn, July 1910. This is continuing with the Terra Nova expedition of Scott, of Robert Falcon Scott. And We're getting another character. We started off this with post officer, petty officer Edgar Taffy Evans, June 1910, and this one is July 1910. So we're not very far along the voyage, and we're getting it from different perspective. From a very Dr. Edwards is higher class. He is educated. He hangs out with kind of the different crew. It's interesting. In these sections, we get references to Taff and his heavy drinking. Indeed, there was heavy drinking and he had to be carried back to the ship. This is stuff that Taft did not include in his thing, or maybe didn't remember because he was so drunken. And there's a thing earlier how they're talking about some terrible guy that has Taft beat for how kind of a bastard or crude kind of guy he is. And it's like, oh, but Taft's not that bad. Yeah, fine, yeah. Dr. Wlsn, Uncl Bill, as he is called by especially Brthdy in this section, is a very religious guy. He was considering giving up being a medical doctor. His father just sort of like asked and go into like missionary work, and his father said, "Could you please just go finish this highly expensive education before you make that decision?" And talks about him having a kind of a vision of some kind of a strange bird man, like kind of almost like a devil-like creature, which definitely disturbs him. It disturbs him. There's stuff. Yeah, the drunken behavior of Evans. He definitely has kind of a very close relationship with Brthdy, who is also kind of a religious guy. There's definitely a lot in these sections of how the wives are all kind of viewing this, and most of the wives are not happy with this. Indeed, has a thing here of him like having a tremendous appetite and him going to kiss his wife, who's kind of went upstairs not feeling very good, maybe upset about his impending really dangerous mission to Antarctica, and she turns away saying like, you've got grease on your face, and he surmises that it's because he's so hungry, that kind of puts her off of like, how can you be so hungry after where you should be more upset that you're leaving me, and stuff like that. Definitely a lot of stuff with kind of comforting Brthdy. Brthdy worried that he is not, this strong kind of short guy, but he's worried like, oh, am I going to be good enough for this? He's like, oh no, and like, will this bring out the best in men? It's like, it brings out the best in good men. And, of course, by implication, I was telling him that he was a good man. There's a thing here. It is a scientific expedition. They stop off at an island to do some searching, to do some kind of searching for like collecting specimens, killing stuff, collecting eggs and stuff like that. But suddenly the seas come up again, and it's damned hard to get off. And indeed, two get left behind, and they have to kind of mount after a kind of a stormy night. They have to try and mount a rescue operation, and it kind of pounds home how formidable just the sea is in these environments. It's just like all the swells and stuff like that. They only barely get everybody off, and indeed, he's quite kind of angry with Brthdy and another fellow because they insist on kind of risking life and limb to get all the equipment back, when they should have just bloody well left it alone as far as Uncl Bill is concerned. And it's like he'd been asked to put in a good word with Con, which is Robert Falcon Scott. When we reached the Cape, I said I wouldn't, as I had every intention of recommending him for the shore party. After his recent reckless behavior, I didn't feel Brthdy deserved to be acquainted with such proofs of his capabilities, let alone his popularity. Yeah, and he says, I'm gonna, and it's definitely he's somebody who it's interesting his views on there's a lot of class stuff in here. He says, like, men from our background, I explained, are at advantage, doing kind of dangerous stuff like going out in Antarctica. They've been schooled to accept things, not to argue the toss once the empire has made a decision. Abiding by the rules is a great help, It does away with the introspection and what leaves one free to get on with the game, which, Brthdy kind of ignoring stuff to, like, just leave it is reckless behavior. Is not actually a good sign to that. And there's a thing here, in the 1901 expedition, which he was on with the thing, he talks about how, they were, when you set up the fire in the tent, unless you were really careful, you would drop like burning oil on the thing and you'd burn the tent, which, you don't want to let air in. And how here, Shackleton had a guy who had worked with Scott, doesn't work with him anymore. They clashed, their wills clashed, and how Conn had given it, the broadside Conn had given to him. It's hard to behave like a Boy Scout by boiling a billy can on a village green when the cold has paralyzed one's mind and swollen one's fingers to the size of bananas. Taff Evans hadn't got a wigging. On contrary, Conn had told him not to worry, and that he was sure we were all grateful for the warmth, however unexpected. But then Conn has always been has always had an exaggerated regard for the lower classes. So again, we're getting this kind of microcosm of British society. And actually, there is a part in here where he does talk about how that there's something to be said about, like, just the state of things, of like how British society is starting not to value things like kind of what was it here? See if I can find it before my time is up. Here, if I can, I think I'm going to have to just remember it off the top of my head. God. Just the idea that, there's things like kind of honor and rules and respect and things like that are not getting respected anymore, that they're being made fun of, and that there's something about going on these kind of these expeditions where you have to kind of respect things. It's a deeply conservative thing. It's a deeply kind of an upholding of older values in a way, pushing yourself to these kind of extremes, which seems to happen there. I'll have to actually look for that quote, because that would be a valuable quote to have, but I will leave it there for the moment. All right. Here's the quote in case I get cut off. Page 64. It often strikes me that Conn and myself, Brthdy and Oates, and even Peter Pan Evans, with his penchant for swinging one around by the seat of his trousers, are the misfits, victims of a changing world. It's difficult for a man to know where he